Okay, old-fashioned sports show. So pumped to be back here with you guys today for a big show. Man, so much to get to this morning. Still no Anwar. He'll be back tomorrow. I will be out of here. BT, aka Pet Rooster, saying my substitute. My substitute. Hey, come on, man. We're talking about a substitute here. I see it more like a Batman and Robin kind of thing. No, but listen, Anwar will be back tomorrow. I'm about to get the old side by side loaded up on the trailer, man. Pack up my guns and get out doing a little bit of hunting in the hill country. So we're gonna keep this a little bit short today. But the main thing that I wanted to talk about was who needs to take next steps this spring, because it used to not be allowed for us to discuss attrition and in these other things, right? It used to be something where it's, well, that's not fair. I'll never forget. I used to write this column at Orange Bloods, and it was like a daily column. It was called the Daily Short, and I still do the Daily Short reading list where I do book reviews and stuff like that. But the Daily Short was just this column that I just write a short little bit every day, right? It was like a little daily kind of, I wrote something every day on the website. Sometimes it was only like 2 or 3 paragraphs or whatever. But I remember one day doing the Daily Short. It was one of the days where you get the dreaded call from Ketchum, where it's like, man, like you look down at your phone and like Ketchum's calling, and I don't. It's not like a meeting or something like that. If he's not sending you an email or hitting you on DMs on Twitter or something like that, and Ketchum's calling you, you always kind of look down. You're like, did I do something wrong here? And it sure enough, it was because the column I'd written that day was about these guys are these are the players who we might look at who might transfer. And at that time, this was like 10 years ago, Ketch was like, dude, you can't do that. That's not fair to these kids, man. Like, they got their parents on the site. They're here just trying their best. It's not fair to put the seed into people's minds. There could be doubt about their futures at Texas, yada, yada, yada. Since then, Ketch has completely changed his stance on the way he feels about talking about these kinds of things. Because look, it's just with the transfer portal and with NIL and with everything else, it's a new kind of college football. These guys are getting paid money. They're looking out for their best interests. They are taking, accountability, and they're taking control over their situations in college. And if things aren't going well for you at one school, or if things aren't going the way that you thought, and look, man, all of these guys, like, think about it. These players coming into Texas are the best of the best, right? These guys coming into Texas, they're the best of the best. And when they come in and you get into, your third year, maybe rounding out your second year, and you're like an high 3-star, 4-star kind of player. You were being recruited not only by Texas, but man, you just think back. I'm like, gosh, here I am. Like, dang, man, I'm sitting here, and I've been trying my best. And who knows, if you think the scheme's a little bit, maybe doesn't fit you, or there's some new coach that doesn't get you the same way the coach that recruited you did, or whatever. There's a million different things that could have got you here. People understand it. And you just think to yourself, God, like, I had offers from Texas, I had offers from Auburn, I had offers from FSU, I had an offer from Washington, all the rest of this stuff. I really liked my visit to Oregon when I was a recruit. You can, these guys are going to look around. They're going to do things, right? And whenever Texas has a limit of 85 scholarships that they're going to be able to give, and they currently have 89 guys on scholarship, we're going to look. I mean, some of these guys are going to have to transfer. And today we're going to talk about not which guys are going to transfer or which guys haven't lived up to the, like, we're not going to frame it like that, right? It's who needs to take the next step this spring. Which ones of these guys are like, and we can't talk about these dudes who are like freshmen or redshirt freshmen, or maybe even true sophomores, right? It's like, well, they could be somewhere along their learning curve, but who are the dudes who like truly need to take a next step for their experience at Texas to be anything like what they had hoped? And if it can't be, who could possibly be interested in looking elsewhere? First, though, I got to talk about Adam Gorney. This article about Arch Manning. Have you guys seen it on Rivals? So Adam Gorney is a writer at Rivals, and I probably shouldn't be poking fun at this dork because technically, I guess Orange Bloods is it's not owned by Rivals. Ketchum owns Orange Bloods. What is it? Is it like kind of co-owned? I don't know. Like Ketchum's side is on the Rivals platform. All right, so I guess that's the best way to say it. So Orange Bloods is loosely associated with this total Dorcas. But Adam Gorney says so. It starts with the article. In late March 2022, I was in New Orleans for the Rivals Camp Series, and I thought it would be an opportune time to interview five-star quarterback Arch Manning. And he goes on and on and on about this thing. Basically, it's a long. This guy's just trying to fill space on a week when he didn't have an idea for an article. And he just goes on to say, it was like trying to schedule an audience with the Pope. I tried through our regional analyst at the time. We didn't get a response. I tried through the high school coach, Nelson Stewart, who's a super nice guy, who was more than accommodating, but no luck with Manning. I was totally left for a trip for Texas, even though I'd said I'd meet with him morning, noon, and night. All I needed was 10 minutes, blah, blah. It couldn't be worked out. And then he goes on to write a whole article about how how Arch Manning needs to lighten up. It's just... And the whole thing from the very beginning, from Adam Gorney, Rivals.com, national recruiting director and certified geek. This guy. Look, I've been to the recruiting camps with Gorney. I don't understand how this dude has a job of evaluating football. He does not seem like a football guy, but that's just me. The fact of the matter is this. He talks about how, it has to go in with the EA stuff, right? With the college football game and how Arch opted out. And he's like, man, why didn't Arch lighten up? Why did, he says all this stuff about how he just wants to be one of the normal guys and just wants to, he doesn't want to be a Manning. He just wants to be one of the dudes. And all he cares about is being around the team. That's why he didn't want to do these interviews with me in high school. It's why he didn't. Now he's opting out of the EA game. And he's like, why would he do that? Because he doesn't have to design the game or do anything for the game or make commercials for it or anything like that. It's not like he's taking any of his time away from the team. So if he's so team first, like, why didn't he just go with the flow? Be cool, dude. Come on, man. Be cool. And I could understand it if I'm looking it through the eyes of some scorned woman who's like angry at some dude for wronging her at some point. But through the eyes of a football reporter, it's like, this guy comes across just like a really, really whiny dork. And the funniest part of it to me is that he doesn't seem to understand when he's telling Arch. He said, I tweeted it this week. Live a little, Arch. It's fun out here in the real world. And he juxtaposes Arch Manning with, say, like Quinn Ewers, right? He said that with Quinn, he says, like, I remember a late night media session in Redondo Beach after a late 11 workout a few summers ago with Ewers, and he was surrounded by media for at least 15 to 20 minutes. He didn't love it, but the five-star quarterback got through it. He didn't melt. And for one, if you're talking about a late night media sesh with you, and look, I hate to say it about people in the recruiting world, but you guys aren't fun to be around. Your job is calling up 14-year-old boys at night and pestering them and asking them questions. And you think that people are going to be fired up to sit around and talk with you? Of course, Quinn Ewers got through. He didn't love it. Oh, God, I guarantee you he didn't love it. I wouldn't love it. I don't want to be around you dorks. Like, here's Bryce Young's dad and I still talk. Young went to everything to prove to everybody he's not only a five-star quarterback, but the best of the best. Okay, so I needed a big favor from Young this past offseason. I hit up Craig Young, his dad, and a day or two later, the video I needed from Bryce Young was texted to me. Unthinkable in Manning world. Okay, so what that sentence tells me is like, okay, well, you're obviously talking about Bryce Young. You're talking about him. He went to everything to prove to everybody he's not only a five-star quarterback, but the best of the best. Oh, gosh, I love Bryce Young. All that. Oh, and also Bryce Young went to every camp that I wanted him to go to. And also his dad, Craig Young, and I are friends. And I can still text him to this day, even though Bryce Young is in the NFL and all the rest of it. It's like, come on. Well, you're saying I think I know why you're still holding this grudge against Arch Manning. The funniest part, I remember a night in San Antonio at the All American Bowl when Trevor Lawrence's whole family showed up at a restaurant where I was eating with some media members, and we all hung out and shot the bull for a while. Lawrence seems to have survived that casual interaction with the media in a social setting. And let me just tell you that I have unique perspective on the media members who are in San Antonio for the All American Bowl, and I have a unique perspective on where they were probably eating that night. It was probably a BW3, and it was Gorney, and it was probably Jason Howell. And do you know what? Maybe Jason Sukuma would have been there, and some of the other rivals guys, maybe Cole Patterson at the time. I guess Cole Patterson at the time of Trevor. Yeah, probably. Trying to think who the regional dude was before Sam Spiegelman, maybe. In there at BW3, and Trevor Lawrence's family comes in there, and they walk in and they see this table full of fat nerds, and they're, oh God, they're like, oh, all right, well, hey guys, good to see you. These dudes are, talking about how they called some 15-year-old boy earlier, picking each other's boogers, and like, of course, nobody wants to be talking to them. Nobody wants to be talking to these guys. I wouldn't want to talk to him. It sounds like a nightmare to me to be in there in that place. I've been in that place. I want to get out. Imagine being Trevor Lawrence and his dad. So look, regardless, he got through it. Adam Gorney writes a whole article about Arch Manning. The final line of his. My point to Manning and the people around him, like they should be listening to this dude. Sitting around his own house, looking at video of 15-year-old boys sniffing his own farts. My point to Manning and the people around him making these decisions is this: loosen up. What's the point of all the work and all the sacrifice and all the talent if you forget to have any damn fun along the way? All right. Hey, look, Gorney, I'm sure that the Mannings really need this advice from you. They have not been a successful family on their own and the first family of football. So there's that, of course, to start. But hey, look, we got to talk about what do we say? The bubble? Oh, who's on the bubble? Who's on the bubble? Okay, Alex Alum 94. Alex, show me the teddy bear where Gorney hurt you. Well, I'm not saying he hurt me. I mean, I'm saying he's a giant dork. Money B, so good to see you, brother. Michael Moore, all y'all, man. Thanks so much to everybody in the chat for being here. The Specs chat line. South End Zone Queen showing up. She missed the whole take on she missed the whole take on Adam Gorney. She can go back and listen to that. All right. So much to get to today. Who's on the bubble? You guys want to start on offense or defense? I think we'll probably start on offense. So the guys who I'm going to be looking at are either going to be redshirt sophomores or juniors. And on offense, along the offensive line, there are a couple dudes that sort of stick out. It's like, man, not on the bubble, but maybe just saying they need to take a next step, right? Even though Ketch says it's fine these days to talk about transfer possibilities and all the rest of it, I still have it kind of scarred into my head, man. Don't say that about these guys, right? So who needs to take the next step? The most obvious candidate on the whole offensive side of the football is Max Merrill, who is a redshirt junior who I have slotted in as probably between a third or the fourth team. I don't know, left guard, right guard. I don't know which one it would be because Max Merrill has never played football at Texas. So if he, he needs to take the next step. He needs to play football at Texas. I do think with some of these offensive line guys, though, it's interesting. I wonder if, for him, I think I was looking at Max Merrill on the roster, and I'll pull it back up. But I think I saw, because I was like, kind of like, man, what's going on with Max Merrill? What are his plans here? And I was looking at his major, and I think I remember. I know this is bad radio, guys, but I gotta pull up a roster here so I can see Texas. It should just kind of pull right up, right? Type in Texas, and it just goes 2024 roster. Okay, so Merrill. So yeah, dude. So if you look at the majors for these Texas players, it's an interesting thing to look at. Most of these dudes have this major called physical culture and sports. I guess that's the new kind of major that the guys get into, and they're all kind of majoring in this physical culture and sports. You can't go 3 3 players without getting to somebody majoring in physical culture and sports, and sometimes there's a ton of them all in a row. Um, every now and then you see these dudes that pop up with these different kinds of degrees, and Max Merrill is his is in management information systems, MIS, which is a tough degree to get within the McCombs Business School. So I would think with him, he's 6'4", 297 pounds. He hasn't played. Um, you might just think, man, if I'm getting 50K from this, whatever they call it, Pancake Factory, whatever the NIL collective is, I'm getting 50K a year to be on this football team and do some practice squad stuff. I'm going to end up with an MIS degree from Texas. I think probably, yeah. I mean, I think Sark's going to have to tell him, man, you got to transfer. I don't think that Sark is in that. Sark doesn't have that vibe to him as a guy that goes in there and tells people who goes and tells people this. Oh, and I'm just reading this. Yeah, dude, January 25th, he was one of 369 student athletes to be placed on the Big 12 Commissioner's Honor Roll. So, I mean, dude, he makes good grades in MIS. Yeah, I'm not sure he needs to take a next step. I'm not sure what he's going to be doing for Texas on a football field, though. Moving forward, it gets a little bit harder, I think. Juniors, Savion Red probably needs to take a next step. I don't know what he's doing, weighing 240 pounds coming into his junior year at Texas. He'd already been relegated to some kind of, wildcat quarterback role. And it felt like that wildcat quarterback role was one that he only really got into because Sark was just so dang pleased with his ability to simulate Jalen Milroe in practices leading up to the Alabama game. And when he did that, he's like, man, maybe we could use for one, let's pay him back and let's get him the football for what he did to sacrifice for this football team, right? Like hey, get Savion the ball. Like, do you remember what he did? Because that Alabama game was huge, and he was a big part of that. Total team guy, get him the football. But it could also have been stuff like, we kind of liked how he looked when he was running around there with the football, kind of trying to be like Milroe. It's like maybe we can get a little bit out on our offense. I don't think that dog's going to hunt. What I was going to say, that duck's going to hunt. I don't think that duck's going to hunt. You got Jaden Blue, you got CJ Baxter. I love Trey Wisner. I think he's got awesome vision. I know people kind of forget about him, but man, when he got in there at certain times, you look at me, there's something to this guy. You got Christian Clark coming in, you have Jarrett Gibson coming in. It's like, where does Savion Red fit in? Malik Agbo is a redshirt sophomore, and he doesn't even play offense anymore, or he doesn't even play offensive line anymore. And maybe he's happy with the same role that, oh man, I can't believe I'm forgetting his name. Number 69, the blonde kid who went to Tennessee, Andre Carrick. He's playing in that same Andre Carrick role that kind of Andre Carrick seemed happy to play that season, which was the kind of jumbo tight end role, right? But if you just look back at last season, did Malik Agbo get? Let's see, Malik Agbo 0 targets. Okay, but what was his tight end usage? So Malik Agbo last year, actually the third most used tight end on the Texas team, 110 total snaps. And he doesn't look like a lineman anymore. Maybe he just likes that jumbo tight end role. If you look on his Twitter, I was kind of looking on his Twitter and stuff, just sort of seeing if there was any stuff where he had hinted about, anything like transfers or anything like this. And on his Twitter, it's just got a picture of him, and he looks kind of skinny. And I think on his Twitter, it says like playmaker at Texas or something like that. So it's like, maybe he thinks of himself as a tight end now. If that's the case, he needs to take a step at tight end, because clearly, there's, I guess if Amari Niblack is out this spring, there's going to be opportunities for him to maybe be a little bit more involved as something besides just a big kind of jumbo extra offensive lineman. And I think, man, this is probably the toughest one on offense as a redshirt sophomore. Nato Uzumalo has to take a step. And for him, it's hardest because everybody loves him, and he was a huge prospect coming in, and he's got 2 brothers on the team, or Zena and Zicky. And so look, this isn't saying that Nato's going to transfer, but dude, he's a redshirt sophomore now, and Ketchum's reporting is that they don't feel like he's the light bulb's going on with him yet. Now the light bulb can still come on, right? But if you just look at the snaps per disruption from last year, Nato played 47 snaps. He allowed 4 run stuffs and committed 1 penalty. He allowed disruption and or committed a penalty once every 9.4 snaps. That in the history of the deep dig, the history of the charting that I've done, it would be the absolute stone worst of anybody that played at least 100 snaps. Connor Robertson was not good last year. He's another guy that was a redshirt freshman, but at least he's gotten to kind of play a little bit more. It feels like he's a more solid kind of number 2 on the depth chart. At least somebody who's, I mean, he played versus Oklahoma. He played 109 snaps last year. You probably, he let 1 quarterback sack, 1 pressure, 1 run stuff, 1 TFL. He committed 3 penalties. He allowed all that disruption, committed all those penalties. He still only allowed disruption once every 15.57 snaps. Nato at left guard once every 9.4 snaps. So Nato Uzumalo needs to take the next step. Do you know the step that you need to take? Knowing where you get your meat. Texas Beef Traders? Are you kidding me? Texas Beef Traders? Right there in the heart of Lakeway, TexasBeefTraders.com. This is where you need to go to make sure to get all of your beef, and it's where I go to get all of my beef. It's all my family eats as far as beef. Guys, what if I told you that you can get beef straight from Mason, Texas, MTX Ranch, Black Angus beef, no mRNA vaccines, nothing cockamamie shot up into these things. They're not commingled with any other herds. Bovine nutritionists on staff, grass-fed, finished with whiskey mash from the Treaty Oak Brewery right out there in Mason, just to bring that extra flavor. And to feed is supplemented only by non-GMO, human-grade, to food. They get this stuff from stores. Like if the store has too many raspberries or something, they're about to go bad. Texas Beef Traders will take them. They feed them to the cows. Dude, you can taste it in the beef. And listen, you got to call. My main thing today is call Texas Beef Traders, order some beef, have Shay or Darren. They'll just bring it to you. Okay, they'll just bring it to you. It's easy to get in the store. You get 10% off if you tell them that you heard about it with me. So it's going to be even cheaper than the great prices that it already is, right? And like I said, the ribeyes are cheaper than HEB. The strips are cheaper than HEB. The ground beef is cheaper than HEB already. The only thing that I think is not cheaper than HEB, and don't tell them I told you this, I think their fillets are a tiny bit more expensive. But other than that, man, all the big cuts. And if you want special cuts, I got this one the other day called a what's it called? It's called a Delmonico. Like it's a delicious cut of steak. I'd never even had it before. I got this one called I got this one the other day called a, what was it? It was called like a bavette. Delicious. I mean, you have no idea, man. Go into Texas Beef Traders and remember the St. Patty's Day menu. Shay is an awesome cook at Texas Beef Traders. He has his own cooking company, Smoke Provisions. They're taking some briskets there from Texas Beef Traders. They're making up some pastrami. Everything you need to make your pastrami sandwiches. They're selling family size kits. They're selling bangers and mash. They're doing all that. Call up there. I'm gonna go up there and call up there today and just get my stuff reserved for my pickup on Saturday. So call up there, Texas Beef Traders. Make sure to tell them I sent you. You'll get 10% off. You're never gonna regret that. And it's about time to get out towards May. I'm driving right by Texas Beef Traders on my way out to the Hill Country. I'm pumped, man. You guys gonna be rooting for me here to bring home an Axis deer finally? Somebody said in the chat yesterday that they're rooting for the Axis. Why do you say if you had red weight 240 pounds? I'd like to get a 240-pound Axis. On defense, so the guys we talked about yesterday, the edge players, right? So let me just pull up the depth chart. Who was so it was Billy Walton? No, I guess he's only a redshirt freshman, so he still has some time. Jamon Tapp is a redshirt sophomore. It's time for that dude to show something. Speaking of the Army All-American game, where everybody gets together and picks each other's boogers at BW3 and likes to talk and acts like they're cool because Trevor Lawrence comes in and talks to him. Gorny. No one wants to talk to him. But I remember seeing Jamon Tapp down there. Jamon Tapp actually played like safety that week. That dude could do anything. A bunch of that year, I remember. So that was during COVID, during the government's response to COVID, and so a bunch of players didn't make it in because all the flights were weird, and You had to do all this stuff. And so Jamon Tapp, like he even played some safety. That like the fact of the matter is, Jamon Tapp is an awesome athlete. He had great offers. He hadn't played. I'm just trying to look. Let's see. Hey Alex, guess what? You're about to do a radio show about all this stuff. Maybe you should get your documents pulled up. Um, Jamon Tapp. What did he even play last? Did he even play last year much? So Jamon Tapp, yeah. So 93 total snaps, and actually, I mean, he wasn't bad as far as his production. Three solo tackles, one assisted tackle. He had one quarterback hit, one pressure, and two separate TFLs. So when Jamon Tapp was in there last year, he generated production once every 9.7 snaps. If we just look at it from a pure snaps per production caused basis on defense, Jamon Tapp actually, these are fun exercises to do because you never know what you're going to come up with. But let's just say Jamon Tapp, even though he was only a 93 snap player, let's just put him among 100 snap qualifiers. He would have been the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, the 12th most productive player on a per snap basis last year at 9.79. He was nothing like, say, like a Devondre Sweat, 5.44. Byron Murphy right at 6, Anthony Hill right at 6. But I mean, he falls right in line with guys who were plenty productive, like Derek Williams, a lot better than Alfred Collins, 11 snaps per production calls. Barrence Rowe was at 11. Ryan Watts was at 12. Manny Muhammad was at 12. So Jamon Tapp's like, he's kind of showing some things. He needs to take a next step though, and it's just the tough part is he plays the same position as the two biggest studs coming in with the whole team, right? Colin Simmons, Trey Moore, edge rushers. Maybe Tapp can do something different. Jerry Bledsoe needs to take a step. I think he will. I think he'll be the number 2 defensive tackle behind Vernon Broughton, but he needs to go in and earn that job. He needs to beat out Savea, the transfer from Arizona. And even if he doesn't, even if he's the 3rd defensive tackle, you're still looking at like a 15% snap kind of guy. I think for Jerry Bledsoe to take the next step, he needs to be the number 2-3 technique behind Vernon Broughton, and actually, push Vernon Broughton because Vernon Broughton gets washed away way too easily against the run. If he can find a way to anchor and look Bledsoe wasn't bad last year. He played 80 snaps, and we talked about Jamon Tapp being at 9.79 snaps per disruption cause. Jerry Bledsoe played 80 snaps. He was at 10.7. He got 3 pressures over the course of 80 snaps. That's good. Texas needs that from its interior defensive line this year. If Alfred Collins is going to be the kind of the linchpin of that group, the one thing that he can do is he has the occasional flashes to bring pressure, right? 305 snaps last year. He got pressured 10 times. He got 2 separate quarterback hits, 2 separate sacks. So he's able to get in the backfield. Jerry Bledsoe last year, on a much smaller sample, was at least able to get some things done. He also had a TFL. Zach Swanson is Zach Swanson needs to take a next step. I'm not sure has he even played. So Swanson played 1 snap last season, generated no production. He's been playing at the 3 technique, even though he's a little bit smaller. I wanted to see what he weighs. Zach Swanson, if you remember, came in from Arizona. He's 6'4", 282-pound 3 technique. What is he majoring in? This is another one we look at, which is corporate communications. He might want to stay. He might want to stay for that corporate communications degree. He could be on the Max Merrill plan, Zach Swanson. But yeah, he definitely needs to take a next step. Aaron Bryant, redshirt sophomore. Look, and Aaron Bryant actually played last year. He was kind of the number 3 nose. He played more than Sadir Mitchell did last year. He played 46 total snaps. He generated 0 production. Nothing. Nada, zilch. Nothing. He did not do a thing on 46 snaps. He needs to take another step. Clearly, he just for Texas' sake. Because here's the tough part. Texas needs him. Behind Alfred Collins, if Alfred Collins is the starting nose, whoever it is at the nose, man, Sadir Mitchell, Aaron Bryant, maybe Alex January, dude, one of those guys needs to really step up. And this isn't kind of the on the bubble kind of step up guy. Sidney Mitchell's certainly not on any kind of bubble. Neither is Alex January, right? This is the year for Aaron Bryant, right? He's coming into his third year in the program. Just to compare with Sidney Mitchell last year, he played 10 snaps. He had two. You know what? This isn't even right. He had 3 solo tackles and 1 separate run stuff. Oh, maybe that third solo tackle actually, right? That wasn't regular season. That was versus Oklahoma State. But still, he played 10 snaps. On those 10 snaps, he had 2 solo tackles and 1 run stuff, separate run stuff. On 46 snaps, Aaron Bryant didn't do anything. 5 times more and didn't do anything. So it'll be interesting to see. Clearly, if I'm putting my money on somebody, it will be on Sidney Mitchell. But Aaron Bryant certainly does need to take that next step. Finally, before I get out of here, and thanks to everybody for being here for the show today, man. Everyone, buddy in the chat, you guys make the show what it is, man. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it today. And as I mentioned, Anwar will be back tomorrow. Not sure who's going to talk into co-hosting with him today. Little bit short staffed around here this week, if you haven't noticed. But at least you'll have Anwar, and maybe he'll have some things to talk with you about. But appreciate you guys been bearing with us this week for sure. And please remember to like the show, subscribe to the channel. All right. Justice Finkley needs to take a next step. I hate to say it, man. I hate to say it. Like he needs to. It's because it's going to be tough. We've talked about the edge position. We've talked about Trey Moore, Colin Simmons coming in, the disruptive force those guys are going to be, not only on the football field, but also to the kind of status quo among the defensive ends and the edge rushers. People are going to have to get moved around to accommodate those guys. And that's the fact of the matter. Whether it's Burke to another side, whether it's Colton Vossick to another side, like however they manage to do it, there's going to be something disruptive that happens here. And there's going to be somebody who's left standing whenever what do they call it when the wheel stops? What is it? When the wheel stops, when the music stops, you can't be standing there. If you want to be the winner at musical chairs, it's a musical chairs game. And somebody's going to be left standing there whenever the music stops. And you just wonder, Justice Finkley, he just hadn't been very good. It's so Finkley, 226 snaps last year. He played a lot of snaps. He only generated production once every 12 or so snaps. He also, one thing about Finkley that I've noticed, at least Finkley doesn't miss many tackles. Gosh, that's something good about the guy. No missed tackles on 226 snaps. That's a good statistic, but he just, he hasn't been much of a difference maker. And when you got guys like Burke, you got guys like Sorrell, who left a lot of meat on the bone last year, and we're going to give him some credit for that because we do chart pressures and quarterback hits and all the rest of it, right? It's not just about the sacks, but I mean, Finkley's behind Barry and Sorrell for a reason, right? Sorrell's better. If you move Burke and Vossick and stuff over there, it's like all of a sudden, man, Sorrell or Justice Finkley probably needs to take a step. And then before I get out of here, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention these guys. And it's not that they've been bad. It's just the situation they find themselves in. Jalen Gilbo and Austin Jordan both play at the nickel spot. And Jahdae Barron is coming back to college as one of the best returning nickel man. Is he a nickelback? Or no, not nickelback. One of the best nickels, right, in the country. And behind him is not only these two guys that have kind of come in through different circumstances, right? Jalen Gilbo coming in as a corner as a prospect, Austin Jordan coming in with more of a safety profile as a prospect, and they're tossed in here with Jelani McDonald, who came in as like I don't know what the hell he is kind of prospect. Speaking of Adam Gorney in San Antonio and the butt sniffers at BW3 that want to hang out with all the young boys. When I saw Jelani McDonald down there, I couldn't believe it that he was playing outside corner and just locking down these good good wide receivers. There were some good wide receivers in that class. I forget their names of them, but two of them went to Ohio State that are going to be like the next men up now that Marvin Harrison is gone. Jelani McDonald's just running with these dudes, making pass breakups, all that stuff. But like people are like, well, is he a linebacker? Is he a safety? I'm like, well, look at it. Like he should play corner. Like, so who knows what he was, but now he's in that mix. Jahdae Barron done moved to outside corner. You have three really talented dudes behind him, and it's going to be Gilbo and it's going to be Austin Jordan, who are both now juniors. They could be, they could be wondering kind of, well, what's next for me? I do know what's next for me. Access deer hunting, loading up the side-by-side, loading up the guns. My brother-in-law will be pulling up soon, man. Thank you guys so much for being here with us today. Onward will be with you here tomorrow. I'll be back with the whole crew Monday, getting ready for spring football. We'll kick off Tuesday. We're going to finally have real football on a real football field to talk about. Till then, love y'all, man. See you soon.